Hey guys, this is Johnny, and it's been a few days now since I went to Date with Destiny, and I wanted to share with you kind of the insights of what I learned and give you some tips if you are thinking about going to the event yourself, tell you if it's worth going to, the pros and the cons, ups and downs, because it's an expensive event. It's $5,000 plus it's 6 days of your life. And if you're like me and you had to travel to get there, you had to stay a few days before and after, and it ends up costing you quite a bit of money and quite a bit of time to go. So I want to make sure that you understand what you would get out of it and also what the downsides are if you were consider going. So whether you watched his movie on Netflix called I Am Not Your Guru, or a friend or myself told you about the event and you're interested about it, this is what it's all about. So starting with that big intro, it almost looks like a rock concert or almost like a rave and more than a seminar. And it's because the very first thing that he teaches you on day one is you can't make changes just in your mind alone. It has to be in your body, and you have to kind of just play all out. And that's a word I heard a lot before I attended. And the people kept saying, okay, when you go, you have to just play. You have to play all out, don't hold back. And I didn't really know what that meant until literally the first 3 minutes of the event, where he puts on the music, everybody around starts dancing and jumping. And I'm like, what is happening? Because I've never been to any Tony Robbins event before. He has a cheaper event called Unleash the Power Within. People call it UPW. And I would say if you want a taste, a kind of a teaser of what the event is actually about, go to that instead. It's shorter, it's only a few days, and it's a lot cheaper as well. It's like a fifth of the price. It's less than $1,000 versus being $5,000. So definitely go to Unleash the Power Within if you want to just get that first part of it. You want to get the experience. You want to see kind of what it's all about. For me personally, though, I benefited a lot from the physical part as well, even though honestly, I'm not normally the type to even like rock concerts. I don't actually like loud music or big crowds or dancing so much, which is why I don't go to clubs or anything anymore. Maybe when I was younger and I was trying to go there to meet girls, because I didn't know where else to go. But now in my adult life, like, I never want to go to a club or even a rock concert. That's just not my thing. But it really helped. So if you do go, make sure that you go with intention of just having fun and just letting go and just dancing around, and just every time there's a break. Because if you just sit there and you're just tired and these are long freaking days. These are days from the morning until sometimes 3 in the morning, and you only have 6 or 7 hours of sleep. It's crazy, but he's right. When you physically pump up your physical state, mentally you actually are able to not only bring in the information more without layers and judgment and holding back, but also you can have breakthroughs, because then you're not constantly thinking of 5 million reasons why you shouldn't have this breakthrough. You shouldn't make a change. So let's actually take a look at one of the interventions. I'm not going to show you any of the ones, and I didn't record any of the ones on purpose, of the really traumatic ones. So people who are suicidal or really had big problems in their life, because it's unfair to that person, because they pour their heart and soul out to everyone. But this one is actually with a guy who I actually spoke to. I interviewed on episode, I think it was 182 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast, a week or two before Date with Destiny, on his journey and how to get here. His name is Tony Sai. So you can take a listen to his story on the Travel Like a Boss podcast. And, his was just kind of a little teaser of what some of the interventions look like. So let's take a look.
How does it negatively affect your family when you make your significance the most important thing in your life?
And
what ways? See, I want you to notice his mind doesn't even want to go there, because how many get this is a really good man, meaning he has a big heart? Don't raise your hand if you don't get it. How many can just feel that he really is a good man? Let me see your hands. So I want you to see, having significance first ahead of everything, including his family, is inconsistent with his identity, but it's how he's been living. So that's why he's freezing, because his brain is like, I don't think I want to go any deeper. I know I shouldn't do this shit, let's move on. But by going deeper, it'll make this have more emotion, like he understands it, but if we get more emotion, his nervous system will actually start to do it more, and if we do this with enough repetition, it'll just happen automatically. Raise your hand if you follow this. So we have to know consequences. In fact, tomorrow we're going to cover.
All right, so as I mentioned, this is just one of the probably 15 or 20 something interventions during the event itself. It was a 6-day event, and what Tony does is he takes examples of people during the kind of sporadically throughout the days, especially on the first 4 days, they're the most. And what I really liked about it is you put yourself in the other person's shoe. So even though he's talking to that one person directly, he's actually using that to illustrate lessons that we can all learn for ourselves. And he really does this in a really great way where I think for me personally, and I think for a lot of you, a couple things will happen. One is we realize, hey, our lives aren't that bad, because some people were literally suicidal. And none of these people are actors. I would guarantee it, I would bet my life savings on it. None of them are actors, because I met a lot of them either before or afterwards. And they're just normal, real people that had a lot of struggles. And if you think about it, statistically, I think it's something like 1 in X amount of people are actually suicidal in the world, especially in the US. But really, actually, to that point, what I really loved about this event was that it was very universal. He's done now 80 events in a couple hundred countries. And at this particular event, there were people from all around the world. There were 200 people from Russia. There were people from South America, from Asia, from the UK, from Australia. And it was a very universal life. I mean, I think we all have the same struggles in the world. And it just really kind of illustrated that we're not alone in this world, and that we all, have things that we're overcoming. And whether you might be watching this thinking, well, my life's great. I'm not suicidal. I'm not depressed. But here's the thing is there's always something else we can get out of it. So on one end, there were people who really have a great life. There were multi-millionaires there, billionaires have attended this event. And a lot of people were just looking for that edge. They're like, okay, my life's pretty good, but what else, can it offer? What is my ultimate destiny? What should I really do to fulfill my life? Is it, I'm wanting to leave a legacy, or making even more money, or having more adventures, or having more partners, or become, settling down into a life relationship? And then you have a lot of people who have a very normal life where they're married, they have a good job, but they're not passionate, and they're like, maybe that's just the way it is. Most people in relationships don't have, so much passion, and drive for their partner anymore. And it's kind of just a lackadaisical kind of partnership where they're just married for 20 years and that's kind of just what it is. And they think, okay, maybe there's more. Maybe there's a way to kind of respark and be happier. And then you have people who are just really down on their luck. Either their lives are really messed up, they're literally suicidal. There's a couple people who had attempted suicide, and friends or family members sent them here to this event. And really sadly, there was somebody as young as 15 years old that she attempted suicide recently. So her aunt brought her to this event to make sure that she understands that there's so much, in this world to live for, and there's no reason to ever, ever, ever take your life. So if you know of someone who is on antidepressants, is depressed, is unhappy in their marriage, is unhappy in their life, or as far, or you think is like, man, this person doesn't want to be here on earth, they would benefit from this. And on the other side, if things are going well for you and there's more and you want to be, set a bigger goals and kind of figure out what you want to do with your life, that'll help you as well. But honestly, I really genuinely believe that even the people who, don't think they need it, they're like, my life's great, I know what to do, I'm happy, I didn't have a messed up childhood, everything is fine. If you go there and you hear and you see and you feel the stories of the people, who have these interventions live in front of you, I mean, literally you can just see them, to your side. You can meet them in the hallway afterwards. You can meet them by the bathroom. And if that doesn't touch you and you don't have that compassion, that empathy for them, and you don't feel them, and you don't think it was worth going to, even just to support them, I almost promise you that you can get more love out of this life if you develop the mindset of saying, you know what, if nothing else, this $5,000 is a donation to make sure that events like this keep happening. Because obviously you can't just have suicidal people go, because then you would only have 15 people go. still having 5,000 people supporting and loving this person and learning how to kind of, really like, not even joking, like making this world a better place. I know for a fact that I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be more loving, compassionate, open-minded person. I'm going to love myself more and, really not let people, let people's opinions of me stressing me out, especially if they don't know me. I mean, we live in this day of social media where as much as I love connecting with all of you through video, through Facebook, through YouTube, or through, some forum somewhere, it's so different when you meet someone in person. I would say 100% of the people I've met in person have been super open-minded, super connected, super loving and cool. And then you have, random anonymous Facebook comments or, probably worse would be like the YouTube comments or Reddit comments or, places where people can be anonymous and hide behind a pseudonym. And I know for sure that these people probably really just are unhappy in their own lives because there's so much to be grateful for in this world. And when we are coming from a genuine loving place and we're trying to, really share good information and make this world a better place, there's no reason to have all that anger and frustration and hatred unless there's something happening in your own life where you feel like you need to lash out or be unhappy. So if you go to the event and you hate it and you're like, I resent being here, this is a waste of my freaking time, you know what? At least you tried, and maybe you'll be ready again, in the future, or maybe your life is really so great that you're just like, you know what? I could be spending this, these 3 days not only helping myself and making more money for myself, but I can also be, spending these 3 days helping others and giving back to the world. Then great, fantastic. He has an amazing refund policy on the 3rd day of the event. If it's not for you, they actually give you a full refund, which is insane because you just got all this value, and then they give you all your money back, which is like mind blowing. But what was even more mind blowing is like almost nobody took it, and it's almost better to not even think about it because then you're forcing yourself, if you know the benefit and the value of it, is don't even give yourself a backdoor, a way out. Because I personally met a guy who had a big breakthrough on day 4. He was literally suicidal, like without a doubt. He was like really lost in this world, and he told me that on day 3 he had filed a refund, and the only reason why he didn't is because his trainer came up to him and said, hey, just stay to the end of the night, and if you still want a refund, go ahead, but just stay to the end of the night and just try to get something out of it. And thank God, he did, and he is a great, loving, happy person today, versus who knows what would have happened. So let's take a look at some more clips of the event itself so you can kind of see a little bit more of what Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins is like.
Because your life conditions are going to change massively over the next 10, 15, and 20 years, no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're in 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s. What did you learn when you went back? We have some little slow learners. But I bet he'll never do this again after this.
All right, so the pros and cons of Date with Destiny is going to be, I'd say the pros, I think we covered a lot of them. I really genuinely 100% believe in my heart that if everyone attended this, the world would be a better place. People would be happier, they'd be more kind to each other, they'd be more loving, not only to others, but also to themselves, which I think would really genuinely make the world a better place. So definitely a lot of upsides. It is 100% worth your time and your money. Downsides, however, is it's not perfect. There's everything in the world, it has pros and cons to it. So it's definitely not perfect. I'm going to give you a couple, of the insights on the downsides or the cons of Date with Destiny or Tony Robbins events in general. And then you can decide, is it worth it for you? So number one, you have the price tag. $5,000. It's expensive, plus hotels and everything. I ended up spending well over $1,000 because I had the hotels, I had the flight from the Canary Islands, then back to LA, then back to Thailand. I came here, really just for this event. I bought this sweatshirt for $45. But, at the same time, it's one of those things where not only does it make me kind of appreciate that I'm in a position now that I'm making enough money that I can afford it, but I also met so many people who couldn't afford it and made it a goal to come because they know it would help them. I would say what you don't want to do is you don't want to put it on a credit card. You don't want to go into debt to attend an event. But what you can do, especially because these events are only once or twice a year, is you can make it a goal and say, okay, in 8 months, I'm definitely going to this. I know it's going to benefit me, so I'm going to create $5,000 in extra income or profit, and then I'll attend. And, whatever it takes to do that, we've had on 180 something guests on the Travel Like a Boss podcast who have shared all these different ways on how they make money online or how they created a secondary source of income or passive income, either through freelancing or creating a business, or really there's hundreds of ways now to make extra money. So even if you have a day job, you can do this on the side. So make that a goal. And when you go, you can say, okay, you know what? I worked my butt off to do this. The second is to figure out ways to cut out all the other unnecessary things in your life to save up that $5,000. Tony Sai went a bit extreme, and he said, instead of paying $1,000 a month for rent, I'm going to sleep in my car for 5 months, and I'm going to get there no matter what. And I asked him at the end of the event, I said, was it worth it? He said, yes. And I thought, it was so crazy that I think the reason why he kind of froze in that video when he got asked a question by Tony is he was so, in his mind, it was built up for so long to come here, and he's done so much that he was just like in shock. But I would say that's actually another downside, actually, to be honest, is even though his movie is literally called I Am Not Your Guru, a lot of people will see him as a guru and do not go to the event in hopes that Tony Robbins will change you or that you will even get to meet him. He's just a busy guy, and there's 5,000 people. If he had to even shake everyone's hand, it would just be chaos for him. So don't expect to meet him. Unless you have a really, really big problem, I wouldn't even honestly, raise your hand for the interventions, because as he teaches, in pretty much day one, is we have to ask ourselves, are we trying to just get significance? Are we just trying to get attention? Or are we, really just genuinely, trying to do something good for the world? And even though I had a lot of my issues, we were trying to figure out what I should do with my life, and I'm sure 100% he could have helped me a lot. I didn't raise my hands for any interventions because I know that time could have been better used helping someone who's in a much worse situation than me. Now, an upside to that is everything that he teaches during the 6 days is designed to allow you to learn yourself how to, make these breakthroughs on your own. So what's really amazing is when he's helping someone else, you are getting that lesson. It's almost like he's teaching you personally, even though he's speaking to 5,000 people. And I know this for a fact, not only for myself, but during one of the interventions, with a woman who, said something really, traumatic happened to her 15 plus years ago. And even Tony had, really trouble breaking through to her and getting her to, move on, and really just, accept the fact that it was a terrible thing that happened, and that something like that should never happen to anyone ever, and that it wasn't her fault that happened. But the fact that she wakes up every day still resenting, still being angry, still being scared, that is something that she can control. And I know it seems like a very simple concept, but this took a lot of people a long time to really let go of, that we really are 100% in control of our own destinies, our own lives, and our own thoughts and feelings. We're not in control of the things that happen to us, but we are 100% in control of how we react to it and the way we perceive why it happened and what we can do again in the future. So these lessons take sometimes literally hours. I think he personally worked with this person for over 2 hours. I think it was close to 3 hours trying to break through to her. And at first I was angry, I was a bit frustrated. And I think a lot of people were, because it felt like just a waste of everyone's time. She wasn't breaking through. She didn't want to change. She wanted to hang on to that significance because without it, she feels like there's nothing else in her life. And it wasn't ready yet at that point to let go of that and just start over and say, you know what, even without being a victim, I'm still significant. I'm still good enough. I'm still, I still have something to to be worthy of loving in this world. And it's not just, people's, sorrow, pity. And what was amazing is even though with her, she wasn't ready to change, the next question that Tony asked the audience was, who here learned something from this, this intervention? Who learned a lesson from this? And the very first person who raised their hand was a woman from Serbia who had this even worse traumatic experience when she was young. But you could tell right away she was like free and like light and just like loving and happy and just like, really had moved on with her life and just is living an amazing life now. And it was like that. As she said, I like, while listening to this person, I was like, I never want to be like that. I never want to, I never want to hold myself back from happiness. And it wasn't just her. It was like multiple people afterwards raised their hand and they all shared something similar. So that really just showed me that even though Tony is talking to one person doing one intervention, really it's the whole audience that's benefiting. And I know for me personally, the tools that he showed me, through those interventions, but also kind of just through the teaching itself, really I had probably multiple breakthroughs. I probably had a dozen, over 12, 15 different huge insights in my life that has made me completely change the way I'm going to be, the way I am for the rest of my life. And it's already been a few days here in Los Angeles, and I already had to go through a lot of BS with like traffic and angry people and just, things happening here and there. And already I'm like walking through life, just not in this like, fake blissful, like, oh, everything's okay. But, I'm walking through just really understanding like why people are angry, why people are stressed, why people are unhappy with their life. And then now, even more importantly, not just understanding it, but also knowing if I interact with them, how I can actually make them happier, and not that I'm trying to fix people, but just how, by giving them love in the ways I've learned how, and giving them compassion and giving them, this sense of just them authentically relating and me just being present with them, really is making their life better as well. And so I've already experienced a lot of the real life benefits. I'll definitely do an update in 6 months once the big high has wore off, because honestly, a lot of it is just being in a room full of 5,000 other open-minded people who want the world to be a better place, who want to be better people themselves, where it's, everyone's open to, high-fiving and hugging and saying good morning. And if the world was like this, it'd be an amazing place. I definitely encourage everyone to attend this event because I want the world to become a better place. At this moment, I'm not even an affiliate for Tony Robbins or any of his stuff. So it's honestly, these videos and this blog post is coming from the heart because I want you to benefit. I don't know if there's a referral program yet or an affiliate program, but I'm looking into it. I just emailed them. I haven't heard back yet, but I think you can use my name to get $500 off. I don't even know if I get anything for it, but if you guys really want to go, I'll update the links below, or you can just go to my blog post. It'll be johnnyfd.com. You can search for Date with Destiny, and I'll have a written review and a recap and some photos of the event and what I learned from it, and the kind of actually some big tips on if you want to go, how you should prepare, what you should bring, what you should wear clothing wise, it's freezing there, as well as the food you should pack, because that's actually another big thing. So if you're gonna go, or if you're thinking about going, or if you know someone that's gonna go, please share this video or this blog post with that person, because it's gonna help them a lot. If I do end up getting a referral link or an affiliate link, then definitely use it. I'm sure it'll help you. Maybe I might even get, I don't know, another shirt for it or something, or some money off my next event. But I'm definitely gonna go again. It's I don't feel like I ever need to go to another Date with Destiny again, and I honestly don't want to go that deep again, because it was a painful 6 days of introspection and just really figuring out who I am, and all my downsides in my life. And but I think this is something that I would definitely do every like 5 years or something to get a big refresh. And for a fun event, I might go to Unleash the Power Within, just because that I've heard, I haven't been to it yet, is more just like the physical part where you just get out of your own head and into state. So I hope you enjoyed this recap and this review and this inside look. I'm gonna leave you with a few more clips of the event itself. But if you haven't seen the movie I Am Not Your Guru on Netflix yet, please watch it, check it out, and then ask yourself, is this something that would benefit you, or just being there and supporting people who have been through things like that, is that going to benefit the world? And if so, definitely sign up. I'll see you in the next video. Hit subscribe, enjoy these clips, and if you like it, thumbs up, as well as share it with a friend, because I really want this to spread. I want more people to see this video. And if you have any questions, ask me in the comments below. I would be happy to answer that. See you guys.